Hey, and welcome back to the Fix My Fees podcast, where merchant processing is so boring, I bring on interesting people to talk about their business instead. I am your host, Tavious Washington, and today we have with us Glenn Loomis. Hey, Glenn, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Tavious.
I'm glad to have you here. So on this podcast, we've talked a lot about different things from digital marketing to lawyers to CPAs. But we've talked about like AI, you know, in different areas and different sectors. But what I haven't done is talked about like AI in the health sector. And that's why I wanted to bring you on. And it's kind of awesome what you're doing. You've been like a board member. You've been the chief medical officer. You've been the president. You've been dealing with AI in medicine for over 20 years. So you've been, in the medicine field for over 20 years, but taking it to the AI was a different thing. So was that more the AI portion of it? Was that more recently, or have you been embedded in that like from the beginning? How'd you go from medicine to AI?
Yeah, I got started with AI about 8 or 9 years ago. I was doing a project when I was the chief medical officer in upstate New York, and was doing a project with IBM, and we were trying to figure out if we could make IBM Watson do sort of become a AI doctor. And we couldn't at that point, but that's where I got interested in AI. So I've actually been pretty embedded and interested in it for quite a while now. But I just started my own company about a year and a half ago, so that's fairly new, but been in the AI realm for a while now.
And so what's the new business that you've been doing?
Yeah, so my new business is called Query Health. We have created an AI doctor product that speaks to patients and then takes a history from them ahead of their visit with their doctor, and then tees all that information up for their doctor so that the doctor can be very efficient with their time and at the same time give patients a much longer time to be able to tell their story. You know, we're all a lot cramped for time when we're talking to the doctor. So the AI it allows you to take your time basically and tell the whole story. And then it just extracts all that and gives it to the doctor in a format that they're used to seeing so that they're able to really understand what's going on with you at a deeper level.
So if it's for like the everyday user like myself, I could use it if I was setting a doctor's appointment, or is it for specific use cases?
Yeah, it's for everyday use with primary care, urgent care, specialty doctor's visits. And the way it works is that if the doctors sign up with us, if you schedule an appointment with them, they send a link out to you with our agent, and you can either do it on the web or you can get our app and talk to the agent. And the agent it talks to you the same way I talk to you, and takes a full history the same way a doctor would take it. It basically asks you all the right questions in the right order, and in order to make sure that your doctor has all the information they need ahead of time. And we also import a lot of information from what's called the Health Information Exchange, so that going into that conversation, we already know a lot about you. We know your meds, your allergies, your problems, maybe when you were in the emergency room last or when you were admitted to the hospital last. So we don't have to ask you all of those questions typically. We can get right to the point of whatever's bothering you for that visit.
Yeah. So, okay. So it allows me to be able to, instead of being in the office and feeling like the pressure of them looking and writing down, and now I'm like, well, I'm in pain. I've had this pain. It sucks. It's like, no, I've had this pain, and on this day, I've this happened. And this day, and this, you can kind of go in more in depth and let the AI, I guess, convert it for the doctor in a way that's meaningful for them.
Correct. You can just talk to the AI and give it all the facts and all of your, issues, and it will convert all of those into a format that doctors are used to seeing. Otherwise we have to sit there and try to extract it out of you, and you get tongue tied. And at least at home, you have all your meds there. You have all of maybe some data that you need, or you have maybe the sheet that they gave you in the emergency room that you get when you forget to take it to the actual doctor's
Right, right.
office. So.
Yeah. So how did this idea come about? Like, what birthed this business where you're like, you know what? I want to change the way that people interact with their doctor and give the doctors more information and patients better care.
Yeah, well, let's back up and just talk about me for a minute. Like, I started in family medicine over 30 years ago. I'm a family doctor by background, and I started in the military, and then I was in teaching for about 10 years. And then for about 20 years, I actually ran medical groups, large medical groups for health systems, and then was a chief medical officer for a health system. And during that
Mhm.
time, my job was to make doctors as effective and as efficient as possible, right? And so I've managed a lot of different specialties and a lot of different doctors in a lot of different parts of the country. And so over that time, the biggest thing that just kept jumping out to me is we as physicians don't scale very well, right? We still do seeing things the same way. We've probably doing it for hundreds or thousands of years, right?
Yep.
We talk to you, we sell our time, uh, and there's no good way to scale that other than to try to squeeze the amount of time you have to tell me your story. And
Mm.
so now with AI, we can do something very different, right? We can actually delegate a portion of that to the AI agent who can actually extract all that information from you, do that history taking part, and allow me maybe to see 2 or 3 patients in the same amount of time that I was typically seeing one. And that's super helpful from the standpoint that we're very short of doctors in this country. As you know,
Yeah.
it's hard to get in. And so it allows you to still feel like you tell your story, but allows the doctor to get all that information in a concise manner and really focus on what you need them to focus on, which is what am I diagnosing? Why am I diagnosing it? And then how are we going to treat it, or how are we going to work you up to figure out what the diagnosis should be, right? That's what they get paid for. But right now they spend more than half of their time actually just trying to get the story straight. So hopefully the AI will get the story straight for them and will let them focus on the things that they really should be focused on.
Dealing with because I think we're in this as entrepreneurs overall, right? And so whether it is an actual patient practice, whether it's consultant, you have people who are like, love it, AI, make my life easier. I'm in. Glenn, let's sign me up. And there's the others that's like, but I've been doing this the same way. I don't want it to break. What happens if I have problems? Or people that are just kind of like against it. What have you been seeing particularly for this? Have people been more receptive of it? Have you had to educate people? How is the market feeling for you when it comes to something as big as like, hey, I'm going to actually be talking about something that I may feel is sensitive, although the doctor may feel like it's everyday conversation. What have you been dealing with in terms of doctors kind of taking this on, or even people being able to adapt to it?
Yeah, it's a great question. What we found was early on, about a year ago, when we really started talking about it with people, there was a lot of fear, right? Fear of, will my data be safe? Fear of, will this steal my job, as a doctor or a nurse? Fear of, I think these things hallucinate and they don't give you good answers. But what we're finding is that has really changed a lot over the last 6 months, I would say. In the past 6 months, people are just using, they're using OpenAI or Grok or whatever, Claude, whatever they like. They're using those in their everyday life a lot more. And so a lot of that fear is dissipating, and they're really starting to see the the things that it does well, right? And medicine, one of the things that AI does well is it goes back, grabs facts and figures, right? And brings them to the forefront and say, hey, don't forget about this, and so that's really what we do in medicine a lot, right? A lot of what we
Right.
do is sort of memorizing facts and figures and trying to make sure that we bring them to the forefront at the
Right.
right time, right? And so AI is great for that. And I think doctors are starting to get the idea that it's really going to be helpful for them. And now, as we're able to actually do part of this data extraction for providers, they can actually see not only a real economic benefit because they may be able to increase their throughput for patients, but they're able to see a real quality benefit because we tee up for them, here's the differential diagnosis, or here's all the things you should be thinking about, and here's the plan that you should consider based on all the evidence, based on what the patient told us. And so it allows them to really take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm not going to be forgetting something because it's all right here in front of me. Now I can focus on which one of these things are the most appropriate and why, by maybe asking a couple of clarifying questions to the patient. And so it really is taking a lot of that, what we call cognitive burden, off of the physicians, where they're trying to think about 5,000 things in all directions and keeping them focused on here are the most important things. And don't forget, by the way, this patient also needs to be screened for colon cancer, or, all those things that we typically forget right now,
Wow.
because we're so in the moment trying to deal with whatever your in the moment problem is. We forget about some of the screening things, or some of the healthy living things that we should be talking to you about. And so this will tee up those as well, to say,
Mm.
don't forget to tell them to stop smoking because they're still smoking, or whatever. So, all those good things.
So in the process, it can tell the doctor, like based on age, hey, they're approaching the age where, colon cancer may be a problem. They haven't done that before. Like the question they always ask me, and, for like 25 years of my life, I never the answer. Like, did you get a tetanus shot? Like, I don't remember the last time I got that. Sometime. It was like every time I break something across metal, that's when they do it to me. Right. So it can tell them
Exactly.
those
Yeah.
things like, hey, it's been 5 years since this time. And so that while the doctor is diagnosing this, they can stay up on top of other things too.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the background, we now create a record for you as a patient that you have in your app, and you always have that in your hand, right? And so not only does it, when it's working with the doctor, it'll tee them up to say, hey, don't forget that Tavius needs a tetanus shot, or don't forget that this child is due for these immunizations, or whatever.
Mm.
But it'll also allow you to have all that information in front of you, so that when you go to the emergency room, or you go to a new doctor, you don't have to try to remember all of that stuff. Now you can just show them a QR code, and they can actually download all that information because it's right there on your phone, for you to give them. um, it'll also eventually, it's not doing it yet, but by fall it'll actually start talking to you, as a patient as well, and it'll give you little reminders to say, hey, it's flu shot season. Don't forget to get your flu shot, or, whatever it happens to be.
That's cool. Oh, okay. So it's going to be like an app that a person can just download themselves into their information. So, like for someone like me who's always on the move, if something were to happen, I can take the information from my PCP or wherever I normally go and take that to the new person who might need it for whatever's happening right there.
Yeah, it's a full platform that allows you to have that information in the palm of your hand at all times. I started my career in the military, and so I moved a lot then, and I've moved a few times since then. And every time I move, all of my data is stuck back where I lived
Right.
before in somebody else's portal, and I can never get into it. And, so now I'll have one that's mine, and it'll always stay there for me. And, I, I can easily just go in and look, when was the last time I had a, tetanus shot, or if I'm a woman, when was my last mammogram, and what did it say, and it's right there for you.
Mm. Talk about a test. That's a marketing tool in and of itself, even though like it's still really helpful. But like if I go somewhere else and I'm like, well, here's everything you need, and they scan and they're like, wait, how did you have this? What did you do? Oh yeah, I got this little network. Next thing you know, they're like, well, I want that if I could get all my patients to come this correct. I like that. It's kind of
That's exactly what we're hoping. You got it 100%.
cool. I like that. It's smart because it's doing it without doing it, right? It's marketing by letting the word of mouth go because it's like, wait, you don't deal with this yet? Making people want to feel like they're falling behind in that lever. Okay, I didn't realize that. So I always thought it was just like, okay, cool. Maybe I sign on to the website when I schedule in, I do it then. And then outside of that, I have no control. But it is good to know that I can have control over like adding more data to it, but being able to take it elsewhere in case I need multiple opinions on something. That makes sense.
Yep.
So as you're tuning things, like how intuitive is AI? Because we're talking about like how much needs to go in, like how much time does it need to be able to have? How much time goes into needing to be able to have good conversations, right? Does you give enough data that a person should be really, really short with the AI, or should they be a little more long winded? Because we know how AI is, and people are like, well, it's better if you do short prompts. Talk to it like a caveman. Don't give it any room for doubt. And then there's others that's like, no, you should use something like Whisper and just talk to it. Let it coordinate it out. And that way you have everything you need and it has all the data you need. Let it ask you more questions. When you're talking about when it dives into this, how much effort do you put in to allow the person to either be really, really short or go as long as they want, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's a great question. We took a little while to actually get through that because what we wanted to make sure is that if you're a long-winded person, that we're extracting all the right things and putting them in all the right categories so that we still know which questions to ask. And if you're a short-winded person, that, if you want to answer everything yes, no, then we're going to have to ask you a lot of questions, right? And so it'll do either.
Mm,
It'll very much adapt to how you want to interact with it. And so if you're a long-winded person, it'll extract all that stuff, put it in the right categories, and then still ask you whatever questions it needs to. On average, it asks about the same amount of questions as a doctor in the practice will ask. Now, again, you have short-winded people and long-winded people, and you also have some people where we have a lot of data in the background and some people where we don't have very much at all. And you have some people who have complicated lives, and histories, and some who, are healthy and have never really had much. So it
mhm.
varies a lot. It can vary from maybe 10 to 15 questions for a super healthy person who's just there for a checkup to maybe 30 or 35 questions. And so it can vary from maybe 7 or 8 minutes to maybe as much as 20 or 25 minutes, depending on sort of which end of the spectrum that you fall on. But again, pretty much the same as if you were actually in the doctor's office, and at least you're home in your, on your couch or, sitting on the back porch instead of trying to, have to be in my office filling out things on a clipboard.
Right, right. I like that. I like that. As you start to, I guess, add on more things, is it how big is your team that's kind of like diving in? Are you building it out? Do you have a team that's building it out? Because you're adding on, it seems like you're adding on more and more things, but how big is like the team that's helping you develop it?
Yeah, so my development team is about 4 or 5 people, but then I have a product person, I have a salesperson. My partner is also a physician, and he's really the brains behind how the agent acts. We basically have downloaded his brain and into the into thinks and acts the way that he would want it to think and act. And so total we have about 12 people that are fullish time. And then we have about 10 other providers, physicians, nurse practitioners, PAs, who actually do a lot of review for us. So we run a lot of cases through it all the time and we continually iterate on how the agent acts and behaves. And so when we make a new iteration, we run cases through it and we have those sort of 10 providers look at things and judge, did it do a good job? Did it ask all the right questions? Did it give me all the information I need to make a good diagnosis? Did it give me a good treatment plan that is truly evidence-based? All those kind of things. And they score it based on that. And so we got about 20 people total that work with us, some as part-time and some full-time.
Now, not to brag myself, but I have some physicians that come on my podcast every now and then. I'm in front of some physicians and doctors and people that have practices, dentists, facial reconstruction. And I know they're going to be like looking at this and they're going to be wishing that Tavious would ask, like, okay, cool. It sounds great. How intensive is it? I don't have time to like adopt and put in, and you're going to have to be onboarded. And do I have to switch systems? And like now they're feeling like that sounds like great because it could save me time. But how much time and energy do I need to give up first? And then what's the risk behind being able to move to that level? What do you say to like somebody that's wondering how that'll all work, if it'll all work, how it all comes together, like what their kind of a part of the process is?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it should take very little time for you to really understand and use. I mean, it'll take a little time to get into your workflow, and you know how that goes. But, in a day or two, you really should be very facile with it. And it's very simple and intuitive for you to use. We believe it's very simple and intuitive for patients to use. We're still working on making it better, but right now, so far, the feedback is good. You know, I think in general, where I see AI going in healthcare is this idea of you're going to have an interaction layer on things that are AI. And then underneath it, you're still going to have whatever your system is that's in your office that I call a transaction layer, right? And
Mhm.
those transaction layers are still going to be there because I don't want to rebuild, sending prescriptions and sending orders to the pharmacy, to the radiology and things like that.
Right.
And so what we do instead is we just do an integration with whatever your system is. And so our goal is to have you as a provider, as a physician or dentist or whoever, not have to touch the keyboard or touch it very little, right? You
Right.
should have conversations with patients. You should be able to say everything out loud. The AI should do all of that, tee it up and send it over to your whatever your electronic health record is. And then the only thing you should basically have to do is go through and approve the orders or the prescriptions or those kind of things. Everything else should have already been teed up and done for you, all the documentation pieces. That's the goal. We're still, anytime you're doing integrations between systems are a pain in the butt. But we've created our system in what's called the FHIR language, so it is able to easily ship data to and from most electronic medical records, and so we can do those integrations without too much trouble.
Wow. You said 1 to 2 days. I actually was in my mind expecting 1 to 2 months. Like when you said 1 to 2, I was expecting months behind it. Definitely, not weeks, but days is actually that's pretty good to be able to
Yeah.
come in. And I know, like you said, as models, they're always learning, but to be able to get in and get the ball rolling, even in less than 72 hours, is pretty awesome. So,
Now the integrations take a little bit longer. Like to
right,
get it fully integrated with your system probably does take a month or two. But for you to just get in and use it and try it out,
right.
you'll be able to figure it out, and it's very simple. Trust me.
And does it cover all categories of physicians? Does it move to like dentists and other areas, like, or is this like category specific? Like, who can take advantage of this, and how are you expanding into other networks?
Yeah, we started with primary care and urgent care. We will be going to all the major specialties. We're going to ENT next, and then we've got basically pediatrics and OBGYN and surgery and all the others lined up after that. And I would say by the end of the year, we'll be in every specialty.
That's awesome. I love to see the growth and scaling. It'd be cool to see what it's like next year, and what like you're talking about and who you're involved in and what's new and involved with it, and then what happens a year after that. So that is awesome. But one of the
We
things in
haven't
the
done
health,
dentistry yet, so I'll have to think about that one. That may be down the line.
I got them. I have them on my podcast too. I'm just saying. um, so when we think about the medical field, we always think about the overwhelm and the hours, right? Whether it's TV shows, movies, people who have had family members or whatever, it's just like long days, hours, and things like that. So for someone like you who have went from that to AI and entrepreneurship is basically the same thing. Giving up a 9 to 5 to work a 5 to 9, 5 in the morning to 9 at night. So how do you balance? Do you have a better balance now that you're moving with AI? Do you find that now that you're building this out for so many people and doing something great that you're doing just as much work? How does your work life balance work at the moment?
I, you know, for good or for bad, I've always worked a couple of jobs my whole life, basically. So I enjoy what I do. I will say that being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. And so, we work a lot of hours, but on the flip side, as an entrepreneur, you do have some flexibility. So, you can, you know, maybe take an hour off here to do something that you need to do, and you're going to put that hour in somewhere else. But, it's not like working a 9 to 5 job. It's just like you're just working all the time, basically. So I don't think I've developed any better work-life balance. Just no.
Just trading one for a better hobby that you like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, outside of work, what are some of the things that you like to do? Is it, hey, when I'm out of work, I'm still kind of doing this, but just maybe not for business? Or like, what else do you like to do outside of work?
Yeah, outside of work, I'm a big sports fan, so I love football and especially college football. So I went
Nice.
to Ohio State for undergrad and med school, so I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Buckeye, I guess. So that's probably my biggest love. And then the other thing is travel. I like to travel the world. So part of what got me into this is just going to places like Africa and South America and seeing the overwhelming need for physicians that is in a lot of other parts of the world, and thinking, gosh, if I could create an AI doctor that could at least help these people have something, because right now they have
Mm,
nothing. But almost everybody has a phone. So, giving them something where they could interact with it on the phone, and then if they need to, then they can go to the emergency room or go to a clinic or whatever. So yeah, my travels are part of what has boosted me to do this crazy startup.
that would have been nice if I'd have known about this like 8 months ago when I was in Mexico, and I had to go to the doctor's. I had an ear infection, and I had to use like a voice to talk to do it.
Yeah.
And it was such a the thing. But if I would have been able to send it or have something where it's like, hey, here's me, but here's my problems, and I could just translate it, oh, my life would have been easier. That would have been so much better. But I get what you mean now. Yeah.
So you'll love this then. One of the great things about our product is you as a patient can select in the app, you can select what your language is, right? And you can do your entire conversation with it in, say, Spanish, and it will do all of that. And then it will translate it
Hmm,
to whatever the doctor's main language is. It'll translate it to, say, English. And so that the doctor can see everything that you said, but in their they're going to see it
right.
in English now, and they're going to get the extracted piece in English. It really does make that sort of back and forth much, much better. Because if you've ever, I mean, because you just said, if you've ever been to a doctor and tried to speak to them in a language that you don't really know, it
Very
just
time consuming.
makes things incredibly difficult. And using a
Very.
translator in the room is really hard as well. I mean, I've done that many times when I've
Yep.
gone on mission trips and other things, right? And so this way, you can just speak to it. It speaks to you native in your language and then translates it natively to the doctor's language, so that most of your conversation is done ahead of time and in your own language, which is super cool.
Right, because if I would have had that, they probably would have just gave me the medicine and got me out of there instead of the 4 hours that I spent going back and forth talking to this, making sure I don't have any allergies, the stuff that I never have allergies, but they still had to ask every kind of question. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have any problems. Just give me the medicine. So it would have been
And
nice to be able to say, hey, look, I have it here. Oh, that's awesome, man. I see it. And I love the fact that it's like traveling is what opens your mind to other things, right? It opens your minds up to new ideas, things that you can do better, just because you start to realize, like, wow, there are some things that we can absolutely do 100% better in here in America, but there's also some things that we're kind of far ahead on. So, but your eyes get the rolling when oh, not eyes, your brain gets the moving and thinking and creatively when you're out and about and having fun. So, what's your favorite place to travel if you have one?
I love to go to Africa. If you've never been on a African safari of one kind or another, you should absolutely go.
Going to Ghana this year. So,
It's the most amazing. Yeah, it's one of the most, I mean, if you love wildlife, it's just one of the most amazing things you'll ever see. There's so many great places in the world.
I
I
know.
have a list a mile long. So one place, I've actually been to all seven continents. So I actually went to Antarctica a year and a half ago, and believe it or not, probably it's two or three on my list. I don't know that I would go back, but in terms of just there's nowhere else like it. You've never seen anything like it. And the penguins are pretty amazing, and there's millions of them.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, just so many great places in the world. So urge everybody to go out and see, even if you just go in the United States, like just go and see our national parks. Our national parks are amazing, right? Go and see, someplace other than your county or your state, right?
Yeah.
There's a crazy stat, like it's something like 30% of people have never left their county in the
Yeah.
United States. Isn't that
Yeah.
wild? So
Yeah.
like,
I believe
you
it.
know, get out and see the world a little. The world's an amazing place.
Yeah, because like when I moved from Maryland to Florida, everyone thought it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're moving so far. And I'm like, I didn't even go overseas yet. I can't imagine how y'all gonna feel. And then when I told people I
Yeah.
was going to Mexico, they thought I was signing up for a death warrant. I don't know. It's just everyone just thought I was signing up to die. I guess apparently, I was like, it's not that bad. I'm in Merida. Like, let's be real. The Yucatan.
Humans, most of us, we're parochial creatures, right? We want to be in our little area with our little people that,
That we
look
know.
and act like us. But, you know, Expand your mind a little bit, do
Yeah.
something different.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you coming onto my podcast with me, Glenn, and being able to have these conversations. And I honestly, I love the way where technology is going in the space of healthcare, where I do feel like time, the amount of people, the amount of costs are going up. It's just so much that's getting piled on. It's only going to get worse. So to see people that are doing innovative things to help with that, so that we can get more people healthy, meaning we can have a healthy America, man, I'm all for it 100%. So, but if somebody wants to be a part of it, whether it's a person that wants their physician to have it so they can do that, or, someone who actually has their own practice and they want to know more information, how can they reach out to you or get in touch with you so that they can ask you some questions, kind of pick your brain?
Yeah, I'd love to hear from anybody. You can go to our website, which is Query Health, QUERYHEALTH.ai. And so queryhealth.ai, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, I'm just Glenn Loomis, MD, GLENN LOOMIS, MD. Or you can email me directly at Glenn, GLENN, at queryhealth.ai.
Awesome. Ooh, thank you so much. I'm going to take that information. I'm going to put it in the bio. That way, if people like, what did he say? They can go in there and click on it.
Awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming in here and dropping some knowledge to my audience. I really do appreciate it again, Glenn.
Thank you, Tavious. It was a pleasure, and you're a great host. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching me and Glenn chat about AI for the last half hour. I appreciate you joining with us. So as always, you can hit the like and subscribe if you want to learn more information. And if you have an interesting business like Glenn, reach out to me at Tavious at fixmyfeesteam.com. Other than that, see you guys.